Wasn't supposed to rain today, they said. Varsity girl flies in the rain, just so you guys can get a video. Hi there, RC Girl here. Today I'm back with the E-Flite Valiant 1.3 meter Safe Select plane from Horizon Hobby. This is marketed as a plane for intermediate pilots. It's modeled after the Hangar 9 30cc Valiant. I've been flying for about a year and a half, but I did take the last 6 months off, and this is the perfect thing to get me re-inspired and to progress my skills. Today I'm going to go over the features of the plane. We're going to assemble this, program it in my Spectrum DX6, and then we're going to take it to the park and have some fun with it. I did buddy box it on my first flight. I ended up not needing to, but always good to have someone take controls in case you need them. So if you guys want to see how awesome this plane is, stay tuned. Wow! Wow! Throttle kill on. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. Here you're going to find RC reviews, tips and tricks, run videos, flight videos, and other things related to RC. So if you guys want to see more, make sure you like and subscribe. As I mentioned, I have been flying for about a year and a half. I started my flight journey with the Sport Cub S, worked my way up to a Mini Apprentice, spent a lot of time actually with the Mini Apprentice, and I have also tried planes like the Carbon Cub S Plus and the E-Flite Timber, which also have flaps and are tail draggers, but this one is just so stable on the ground and really amazing to fly. So this came in the mail a couple days ago. It wasn't a hard assembly by any means, but there are a few things that I'll point you guys to that'll probably help you out with the build. I'll put a link to a video in the description box below, and it shows you where all the screws go. The screws in the box are not labeled, and it's kind of hard to figure out which ones go where, so the video is super helpful in showing you which of the screws go in what components. I also pre-threaded the screws that went into the tail. They are the longest screws. They are kind of a pain in the butt to get in, so pre-threading them will help you out a lot. This plane is a Safe Select plane. There are a couple versions of Safe, so make sure that you know which one is which. Safe Select has 2 flight modes. If you have Safe Select turned on, it's going to limit your pitch and your bank angles, so it's not going to let you go in those extreme positions. It also does a little bit of self-correcting of the plane. So for a newer pilot like me, that's super helpful. I flew most of the time with Safe Select turned on. You could also turn it off and have just normal flight. This plane also comes with their AS3X stabilization, which is their 3-axis stabilizing feature. It's going to control for fine movements in the air, so if there's a little bit of wind or gust, it's going to be really nice and stable for you. For Safe Select, I'm not going to go over how to set it to a switch. I'll put a link to a video that shows you exactly how to do that. For some reason, my throttle kill was overriding the Safe Select. I figured out how to do it, but reach out to me if you're having that same issue. I think it's because I recently updated my Spectrum DX6. So this plane also has flaps, which are so fun. Actually kind of needs flaps on landing because it comes in with a lot of speed. You need kind of a long runway to land successfully, but the flaps really help. I set my flaps to a 3-position switch, so you're able to have half flaps or full flaps. I usually take off with half flaps and land with full flaps. One of my best landings, I'll show that in a bit, was with full flaps. It really comes in nice and slow, slows down the plane for you. It'll really help with your landings. For a newer pilot, it does add an additional layer of complexity. You have to know how to handle the flaps in the air, but I would say that this is a great plane to learn flaps on. Compared to my Timber or my Carbon Cub, when I use the flaps on that, it kind of tends to stall a little bit, so you have to manage your throttle. With this, honestly, I don't even know when I have flaps on other than it slows down the plane. It doesn't have those same stall characteristics. It'll be a great plane for someone that's using flaps for the first time. Okay. For our electronics, it comes with a 480 size brushless motor. It has a 30 amp ESC installed. It's capable of running off a 3S battery. As I mentioned, it comes with the Spectrum AS3X receiver with safe technology. It's compatible with DSMX or DSM2 transmitters. It also has 6 micro servos installed to control your flaps, your ailerons, your rudder, and your elevator. And batteries, as I mentioned, are not included, but it is compatible with 1300 to 3000 milliamp 3S lipos. You're gonna have to get your own. I'll show you a couple that I've used, the Gents Ace or Ovonic. I'll put a link to these in the description box below. On a 2200, I got about a 20-minute flight time, which is awesome. And I'm kind of flying around half throttle, so if you're doing a little bit more aerobatics or using more throttle, it might not be as long, but the landing gear are really solid. I had a couple hard landings. It really absorbs a lot of that impact. They seem really durable and also come with wheel pants. They're my first plane with wheel pants, which I think is the funniest word. I always thought that the wheels were the feet and whatever goes over that would be the shoes, so I'm not sure why they're called wheel pants, but I think it's pretty funny. This plane is also compatible with floats. I believe it's the same floats that go on my Carbon Cub and also my Mini Apprentice, so I'll just be able to use those. I'll put a link to those in the description box below. They're not included, though. You can get them separately pretty easily, but it does come with the hardware to install the floats. I saw a cool video of someone hovering with floats, so this is a really light plane and it's going to be able to hover even with floats. The foam is a little bit soft in places, especially on the fuselage behind the wings. Just be really careful transporting this plane. All right, so that is it for all the plane specs. It's been a little bit stormy and rainy here. There were a couple windows where the weather was pretty nice. It did end up raining on me though. Oh man, I don't think they have hail on the simulator. How am I to know how to fly in these conditions? But anyhow, let's take it to the park and I'll show you guys what this looks like in the air. Wasn't supposed to rain today, they said. All right, here we are at the flying field. I actually filmed this yesterday and it was a lot calmer, but the footage, I'm still getting used to my camera, and the footage for the flight was a little, the contrast was off, so I'm gonna try and do it again, get some better footage, but it is a little bit windy today. Luckily, the wind is kind of parallel with the runway, so we should be okay if we take off into the wind. I got my Spectrum DX6 transmitter all programmed, ready to go. We're gonna turn this on. I also have a 2200 Gents Ace 3-cell LiPo. This is a 45C discharge rate. So let's put it in our plane. Flip this guy over. I swapped out the EC3s for XT60s. Ooh, it's windy, folks. I'm also gonna put a low voltage alarm in this. Just, it's about a 20-minute flight time on a 2200. All right. I'm gonna put this on the ground. Make sure throttle kill's on. It's gonna initialize. Okay, it looks like we got our flaps on already. I'm gonna fly with Safe Select on because I am just a little bit more comfortable flying that way, but you can also turn Safe Select on and off. And so to check whether you have Safe Select on or off, you can flip the plane over. And if it starts to stabilize, you know you have Safe Select on, because that's going to be limiting. It's going to want to flip the plane back over. So we can turn it on. This is off now. So now, you know, Safe Select is on. It's trying to right the plane. I'm going to fly it first. I'm going to try and do my first landing with flaps, maybe half flaps, then do a second landing with full flaps. And then I'm going to hand it to another pilot who's a little bit more advanced than me, and to show you guys all of the features without Safe Select on. So let's take it away. First, before we take off, I'm gonna do my pre-flight check. Do that every time, make sure that everything's working. Get our rudder. I have my throttle kill on, but we're gonna check the flaps, which I set to G. Perfect. There's a 2-second delay on when your flaps initialize, so just be aware of that when you're initializing that mid-flight. Got my Safe Select on. When I'm taxiing though, I want to turn my Safe Select off. Since this is a tail dragger, you're going to want to make sure that you have full throws on the runway. And also you want to use your up elevator just to keep it really stable on the ground. It's not going to want to nosedive or anything. Being a tail dragger, not the best plane for a beginner, but intermediate, I think you're definitely going to do just fine. So, all right, let's take it up. Throttle kill off. Line it up with the center of the runway. Does need air motion moving over the control surfaces. Whoops, wow. Still getting used to tail draggers. I'm gonna get out of this rut here. Okay, perfect. Okay, taking off into the wind. I'm gonna make sure my Safe Select is back on. Here we go. A little bit of wind, but not too bad. Whee! There we go. So this is with Safe Select. We got our AS3X. I'm about half throttle right now. just gonna try and do kind of a bunch of turns. So now I'm going into the wind. In the simulator, I do a lot more crazy stuff. I can actually hover in the simulator, but I get a little bit nervous when I'm out actually flying in the field. So I kind of just like to do a lot of turns, kind of try and set myself up like I'm gonna do a landing. Turn in. And so the first time I flew this, I actually buddy boxed it and had someone basically just hold the panic button in case I needed them to take controls. But they ended up not even actually doing any of that. And I was able to take off and land just fine with this thing. It's such a precise flyer. Okay, so on this next turn, I'm gonna do half flaps. And let's initialize the flaps. Okay, get a little bit more lift. It's going to slow the plane down a tad. I noticed the wind kind of picking it up. So this is a half flap, about 50% throttle. And so I do have two other planes right now with flaps. I have the original Timber, which is a great flyer, and I also have the Carbon Cub S+. And the Carbon Cub tends to stall with flaps. I wouldn't recommend that as like your first plane with flaps, but this one seems totally fine with flaps right now. Still has a little bit of speed to it, but it's not too fast. So now let's do full flaps. So I'm going into the wind, full flaps. I can tell that it gives a little bit more lift. It wants to pitch up. So this is full flaps, about half throttle. It's pretty good. So I would say you probably don't want to fly around with flaps on. It's kind of something that you initialize as you're either taking off or you're landing or about to land, because it does, as I mentioned, tend to kind of stall the plane a little bit if you don't carry speed. But yeah, it's pretty good. It's a really great flyer. You can see it wanting to pitch up right now with flaps. So I'm going to take my flaps off. So this is 0 flaps again. Okay, cool. Really cool. All right, let's try and set up for a landing. So I'm gonna do another turn. So first, let's land it with half flaps, because you do kind of need a lot of runway with this thing, because it just carries a lot of speed in your landing. So definitely kind of want to land with flaps. So let's do one more turn. Distracted by talking. We're going to lose a little bit of altitude here as I set up for my final descent. Okay, we're going to initialize our flaps, half flaps. Still pretty high here. So this is dead stick. Coming in for landing. It's a little bit of wind, but not too bad. This is dead stick right now still. This thing does not want to come down. Here we go. Do a little bit of flare. Nice. So I'm going to turn my flaps off because you want to bleed off all that lift. You don't want any more lift. There is a little rut here, so but yeah, I would say my eyes are crying. But that was a pretty good landing, I would say. It was probably one of my better landings, actually. And so again, when you're taxiing on the runway with this, you're going to want to use your elevator, and then I also put it back into without safe select on. So let's give it a little gust or a little burst. Oopsies. I've done that. I did that yesterday too. I'm just gonna go run and get the plane actually. But yeah, it was a pretty good landing. So we'll do another landing. We'll take it up again and do a full flap landing. See if I can land it a little bit closer to myself, and then we'll give it to a second pilot. Kind of just ate up that a little bit. I should probably get some more props. Just have some extras lying around, but looks pretty good. Let's take it up again. All right. We're gonna do our second flight. We're gonna take it up. We're gonna do a full flap landing this time. See if I can get it a little bit closer to me and not as far down the runway. This is not the best runway. Safe select is off. Throttle kill is off. Make sure our flaps are going good. Use our up elevator. Line it up with the center of the runway. Sometimes it helps if you give it like little bursts. Okay, let's turn our safe select back on. Pre-flight check. Yeah, let's try a half flap takeoff this time actually. Okay, half flaps. Had to use a little rudder there to keep it straight on the runway. Here we are, half flaps. I'm gonna turn our flaps off. Whee! Okay, let's try and do a high-speed flyby on our next turn before I land it and show you guys a full flap landing. Whee! There's like no one out here. Today's the day after Thanksgiving and I thought it would be packed. But yeah, this is an old airport. Okay, so what am I doing? Oops, I was talking. Oh man, all right, let's take it around again. Okay, bring it a little bit closer to us. We're gonna do a high-speed flyby and high speed. So this is full throttle. Whee! Full throttle. Whee, it's so fast. And you can actually turn this plane without using any rudder. You can kind of just bank and yank it, and this is a full turn with full stick control with the safe select on. Whee! Can do some pretty sharp turns. Okay, so let's do a full flap landing. We're gonna come around for our final descent. We're gonna initiate half flaps. And we're gonna do full flaps now. Really slows it down a ton. This is dead stick. Okay, coming in. I have to use a little elevator, which you're not technically supposed to do, but here we go. I mean, that was a pretty good stinking landing. What do you think? Okay, so let's turn our safe select off. We're gonna put our flaps down and bring it back, taxi it back. Wow! Wow! Throttle kill on. Oh man, cool. That was a great landing. I love this plane, honestly. Like, I kind of took a break from flying and I don't know, I kind of needed a new plane to re-inspire me, and this is the perfect thing. It's 170 bucks. It's super cheap. You can use it with the DX6, has flaps, goes pretty fast, but also can do some aerobatics, and it can fly really slow if you wanted to. So it's kind of the classic that does it all, supposedly, is what it says on the box, and I totally agree with that. So now let's give it to a more experienced pilot. He's going to show you guys how capable this plane is.
Hey there, Mountain Mike here. I've been flying for about 10 years, so hopefully I can give you guys a good show. So I'm gonna take it up. We'll do flaps, no flaps. We'll try to do some hovers, some knife edges. I'll show you vertical, inverted. Let's just go ahead and take it up. Safe select is off. And it's really kind of important with this plane to keep that elevator up when taxiing. That's just gonna push the elevator down to keep it from nosing down. So it keeps that tail down and give little bursts to keep the air moving over. Up here. This definitely is an old runway, lots of holes and ruts, but we kind of have this little channel we try to get through right about there. Now she'll roll. All right, we'll go ahead and do a half flaps. That's about where I like to take off. And go ahead and throttle up slowly. She lifts right up. We'll put the flaps up and bring her around. Wind picked up a little bit. Caught it right between storms here. All right, so safe select is off. Let's just go ahead and try some flybys here. Do a full speed flyby. And we'll go ahead and bring it up, do kind of a stall turn, and then a no throttle flyby. But that's with the wind, so that might have been just as fast. So we'll go ahead and bring it up a little bit and we'll shoot it into a knife edge. Oh, that was almost a hover. We're with the wind here. There we go. Pretty smooth actually. Not quite full throttle, but definitely full rudder. And do that the other way. So almost, oh, there we go. About 90% throttle, full elevator. I'll go ahead and bring it inverted, see how that flies. So it actually flies with very little elevator input, which is impressive for a high wing model. Just kind of flies around upside down. We'll try some rolls. Very smooth. One thing about this plane, it is so accurate and precise in its movements. I think any aerobatic or person like me getting into 3D will get a lot out of this plane. Run by. Back into the wind again. Try some more of those rolls. Those are fun. Let's show the vertical, so I'm just going to punch it and go to the sky. That's unlimited vertical. Just goes and goes. And then we'll kill it, let it stall again. Some turns. Very smooth. All right, it's starting to rain pretty good here, so I'm going to do a full flap landing. So we're going to do half flap. I'm going to do our final base turn here. Go full flap. I'll show you how slow this E-Flite Valiant will go. It almost stops. So about half throttle right now, fighting that wind. But you can see how smooth it is with that AS3X, just smoothing out every little gust of wind. And I'll let the throttle down. It's almost a STOL plane. So there you have it, a little show of the E-Flite Valiant, but you can see how smooth that is, even in these less than ideal conditions anyway.
RC girl flies in the rain, just so you guys can get a video. We need some windshield wipers on this thing. Good plan.
And so the storm's really starting to come in. It's getting pretty rainy, so I think that's going to be it for this flying session, but hopefully that gives you guys a good sense of the features of this plane. It's super fun. I would definitely recommend it, especially at that price point. I mean, you can't really go wrong. So that's pretty much it for this video. The E-Flite Valiant, this thing is super cool. Really great flyer. Actually, the guys from Flight Test commented on my Instagram that this is one of Horizon Hobby's best flying planes, and I totally agree with that. If you're looking for an intermediate plane to really progress your skills, this could be a good option for you. And also, if you are a beginner, if you have someone to help teach you and buddy box with you, instruct you, this could be a really great option for a beginner as well. Probably not best for your first plane if you're teaching yourself, but if you're looking to kind of grow in the hobby, this would be a good option. I'll make sure to put links to everything in the description box below if you guys want to check any of this stuff out as well. Otherwise, I'm going to get out of the storm. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you later.